So click the quit button as I'm just coming back from the recording. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, welcome. We're going to be doing making a little bit of a tutorial about Strategos, and it's just one of these games that I think is going to be an amazing game. There's a lot more depth to it than it first appears, and I wanted to go through that depth in this particular episode. Maybe I'll even make other videos actually on as a tutorial sort of aspect to what things are doing here. Actually, I haven't seen this before. They've been updating the game pretty much on a daily basis over the last couple of days. So what does that one do? That one opens up a PDF guide. Cool, I haven't seen that before actually. So yeah, so they've got different aspects there. We might even leave that open actually. There's yeah, there's some handy little things in here actually. This is not at all bad. I'll just zoom in a little bit and yeah, okay. Look, I was going to be going through some of the information anyway. We'll just keep that there, I think. What I wanted to do was actually show what I think is the most exciting aspect about the game, which is actually one of the campaign modes. And looking at what they're going to be doing, they're going to be developing a lot more of these. These are most of these are just sort of like linear campaigns where you just go from mission to mission. But down the bottom through here, you've actually got the first Punic War, which is actually a map, what they call a map campaign. And based on player feedback, where people are loving what they're seeing here, they're going to be developing this further and further, which I think is fantastic. This is such a good aspect. Hi, Jim, how you going? Saying, hey, Daz, happy long weekend, mate. Thanks for that, and happy Australia Day if you're from Australia. So, yeah, it's certainly been a nice long one. Beautiful weather here, actually. I should be outside, but anyway, I'm doing this instead. I've already been to the beach this morning. Okay, so we'll just go to the first Punic War. We'll actually play this one. Now, a few problems with this game is that you can't save an existing campaign. So I've been playing an existing campaign in this particular phase, and I've really been enjoying it. But for us to sort of play it properly, I'm going to have to reset the campaign and start from scratch. So if I go and just do that one, reset the campaign, yes. So there's some issues with the game. The biggest issue with the campaign is that you can't save it and have multiple of the same campaign running at the same time, and also you can't save from within any of the combats, which I don't understand why not. So there's no real save function. So many games are doing that nowadays. It's just driving me absolutely crazy. This is one of them. So yeah, I really hope that they actually change that one. So let's just go and reset the campaign. So we just go first Punic War. So Rome starts with the cities of Mylae and Messina under its control. The regional capital is Messina. Its objective is to gain control of Carthage's regional capital, Lilybaeum. So that's actually our objective, is to get to Lilybaeum. Down the bottom through here, what have we got down there? That's the rules. Map cam. Okay, here we go. Maybe we'll actually read all of this stuff because we're in no screaming rush. Yeah, there we go. Jim is saying, I am, yeah, too bloody hot out there. Yeah, I've heard, like down south of Australia, I've heard that there's been quite a rough day from what I've seen in the news. Anyway, let's continue on. The map campaign plays out across a number of years, each consisting of a campaigning season and a planning season. During the planning season, armies are generated or reinforced and then placed on the map or returned to the nearest friendly settlement. And extra momentum can be spent on diplomacy rolls. During the campaigning season of 20 turns, each side on its turn chooses one action out of 4. March, fleet, siege, or diplomacy. All action outcomes are based on a 1 die 10 roll, compared against roll tables, modifiers, and thresholds. This actually works really, really well. March actions, I don't understand all of that. I don't think there's anything tricky about that, so I'll just keep on sort of looking through. Armies that just fleet actioned or out of supply or are not adjacent to a friendly settlement and cannot trace a path back through neutral settlements suffer degraded unity quality in battles. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are actually in supply the whole time. I'll show you what that is and what it looks like when we sort of get into the actual game itself. Before starting a battle, both sides roll for reinforcements from allied settlements at or adjacent to the battle point. This is actually important as well. Allied support can fail to arrive. So again, sort of a bit more dice controlled. You don't really know exactly what you're going to get, but the balance of it actually is very, very good. So Jim is saying, wait, can you repeat that about the saves? Yes, there are no in-battle saves in this game. There are no different saves for the campaigns. When you start a campaign, you're essentially playing like a roguelike campaign where you can only save when you're not in battle, and essentially even if you are in a battle and then quit out because you get interrupted, you then end up losing that battle, and so it can be very, very dramatic. So at this stage, this is a major problem if you're playing one of these map aspects. So be aware of that. It's actually not something that is. How long are the battles? The battles last maybe about 20 or 30 minutes, I guess, depending on how much you're pausing. If you're not pausing at all, and I wouldn't recommend that you play without pausing, because there's a lot that goes on in the battles that you would miss otherwise. If you just play them in real time, and a lot of people will do it that way, but you will, as I said before, you'll miss a lot of the nuance as to how the game actually does work. You'll probably be playing again in about 10-15 minutes, but for me it's about half an hour per battle, from what I've sort of found so far, and they're small battles. So it should save every turn. Well, there should be saves in the campaigns, and there should be saves in the combat. A lot of games sort of have not done that in recent years, and I don't understand why developers are starting to not put saves in actual battles. There's so many games that have done that to their detriment. People will not buy games if they don't actually have the save. So I'm going to put that out there at this stage. And I've given feedback to both micropros and also the devs now as well, that this is that is actually that's a problem. It's a major problem. So anyway, it's and I don't think they realise how much of a problem that can be for people. And I certainly know from other games that it can really hurt your wallet if you're a developer and you don't put the saves into the campaigns and things like that. So anyway, we'll continue on. Capitals are marked with a wreath symbol. Wall settlements are harder to besiege and have a tower icon. Port settlements can be sailed between and have an anchor icon. The anchor icon is also shown on armies that are weakened by just having fleet moved. Out of supply armies have a foot icon, and when a settlement shifts ownership to the player or a faction, a banner appears below it in the colour of that faction. There we go. So it's pretty. The actual base rules of these maps is good. There's only one of these now, but they will be building more of them because people are loving this. Okay, so the first Punic War, it's just in the major theatre, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we can either play as, of course, the Carthaginians or the Romans. We'll play as the Romans because I enjoy playing as the Romans, so I sort of like what they've got. So we start the campaign now. Now, this is the map. We have to go and try to take Lilybaeum, and they have to go and try to take Messina. So Messina is actually sort of like where we're starting off. So we've got Mylai and Messina under our control. You can see the little red underneath that one. They start with 3 and through here. And we then have to, this is now the planning phase of what we're actually going to be doing. Now, it's diplomacy roll table. Select city to roll for diplomacy. When I hover over, I can go to any city and try for it. Now, you can see there, this is a native Greek faction, which is amenable. Down the bottom through here, got Syracuse, which is a native faction. Regional capital, has a port, walled, and -1 to siege rolls. But it's not sort of like these looks to be sort of like this one's hostile, for example. That one's hostile, amenable. So the amenable ones are likely to flip fairly easily, and we want to sort of try to keep within supply. Now, Syracuse would be a nice one for us to try to get, but I think we'll actually go down and actually just conquer it. So I will move across the top. What we want to be doing is trying to get to these 2 locations here, and also down into Syracuse and these other locations down the bottom here. So we'll start here, I think, and we'll just go across. Now, the way this one works is that it rolls a D10, like a 10-sided dice. So this aspect is turn-based, but not the actual battles themselves. If it rolls to 1 to 7, there's no effect. 8 to 10 would mean it'll shift loyalty and become one of ours. Now, we're just going through, this is the initial phase where things will sort of then end up happening. And so we have a diplomacy roll table. Select city to roll for diplomacy. and so we're going for Tauromenium. Momentum is 2. Native Greeks are amenable. We get a +2 to our roll. And so the total modifiers we have is 4. So there's a good chance it's going to flip. So roll 1 die 10. It looks funny. It looks like IDO. And I only just realised that's actually not IDO. It is 1 die 10. So we'll roll the dice, and that was a base roll of 9. Adds up to 13. It's certainly higher than 8, and so it's now flipped to us. So we go and accept that one. We now have that one underneath through there. They've now just gone and gotten that one through there. We can accept that one. I mean, we can't not accept it, but it's just telling us what's going on. So they're taking the central areas. We'll just go and accept. I'm only going to go to the amenable ones because there's a good chance this one's only got momentum is 1. We've got +3 there. What about if we went to Tondaris? Yeah, it's still only the same. We'll just go this way. We'll roll the dice. Oh, not good. So we missed out on that one through there. They're now doing. They also had no effect. They tried to get McKellar. Now the planning phase. This is now where we actually go and start to sort of form our actual armies. So generate an army for Roman with the unit priorities. Now we've got like heavy cavalry, so I can actually put these into how we want the forces to be arranged. Now I want heavy infantry, so I'm going to put heavy infantry at the top. I'm going to then put heavy cavalry because they can turn a battle. I'm then going to go light infantry, which will end up being the skirmishers, which are also very, very important. Light horse and cavalry, I'm not sure what the difference is between them. I think light horse is like a skirmisher, whereas cavalry can still do things. I think I'll put it in that order there. Light infantry, medium infantry, then cavalry. Medium infantry can actually go and sit inside rough terrain, whereas the heavy can't. So light and medium can actually sort of operate in those. So let's go and generate our initial army. But I want this to have a lot of heavy infantry because I want them to be able to push the other armies around. So we'll generate our army. It's a bit sort of random. We've got 2 of them. So we've got generate army so we've got 2 armies that we have to go and do. So we'll just go and select both of those. And they're going with, and I like this as well because it means that every time you play the game, it's going to be a little bit different. So the enemy has actually generated 2 armies with a bit of a difference in the sense of what they actually then can do. So the plebeian places army, select friendly city and click accept. So we'll accept this into Mile, and so we'll just go into this one through here and accept. And we place the second army in as well. We'll place this one into Tauromenium, and so we'll accept that one down through there. So they've placed their 2 there and there, so they've got like and we can see what their armies are made up of. So they have 1 general at the start there. They've got heavy. They've got 3 heavies by the looks of things. A medium cavalry, a warband is that next one with the sort of like the tartan type look to it, and 2 slingers. That's their base unit. This is Hanno, the son of Hannibal, is actually in control of that army. This army is pretty much exactly the same. Our armies, we can see down through there, we've got a lot more. We've got a cavalry unit, looks to be our commander, only 1 cavalry, and then we've got like the different, it's a bit hard to sort of tell who's who in that particular grouping in through there as to how strong they all are. We do have 1, I think that the first one are Triarii, which will be the biggest veteran units that we've got with the blue shield. We've got 2 with the gold shield and 3 with the red shield. So that's all infantry, and they're all heavies. We don't actually have any medium by the looks, I don't think. And then we've just got a couple of skirmisher units in through there as well. So it's mainly just going to be heavy aspects, which means we're going to be having to fight fairly carefully. And that's exactly the same there as well. I really quite like this because every time you play the game, you've got like a different aspect of how things actually sort of then operate. The game also, when we go into battle, if we have like a city that we control next to where we're fighting, we will get a reinforcement, so we'll get additional units from these cities. They'll give us allies to then help us fight, which is really, really cool. Now we have different actions. We can keep on trying to win over the various locations, or we can we can march. We can fleet move if we had anyone in the actual port back and through here, or we can siege if we're wanting to. Now, I want to keep on using diplomacy, so I'm just going to keep on this phase. We're just going to be keeping on sort of going across. We'll roll the one tide 10 and shifts ownership from neutral to Roman. So that's good. We've just gotten that one, and so they now go and they're doing diplomacy as well. They're trying to get McKellar, and they. Yep, so they actually did get it. So they've actually now picked up that one through there. We'll just keep on going while they're amenable. We'll go to diplomacy. Go this way. I want to get into here ultimately. So that was a poor roll, so we lost that particular one. They also had no effect. Oh no, she does shift ownership. Okay, so they managed to do it. We'll go in diplomacy again, and they've already taken Panormus, which is a problem, and no effect again. So they're on the roll here, and they've picked up all of these now as well. So we've only got 4 cities. They've actually now got 7. So we're a long way behind. We'll just keep on doing this. We're just having really shitty rolls. And they took that one as well. Wow. Okay, we're having a lot of bad luck here. There we go. Is that it? Yes. So we've now picked up that one. So that one there is hostile. And did they pick that one up? No, they didn't. They didn't roll enough. It's probably going to be hostile to both of us, I think. We'll go to Katana, and we're just going to do diplomacy there as well. Roll that one, and does shift ownership. That's good. So we've actually now got Katana. That's amenable, and that's amenable. Yep, they've been able to pick that one up. So I'm not going to be able to make it down to there. Let's just keep it going in here. Nope, that was terrible. And they've picked this one up as well. Wow, they're actually really accelerating through the actual map itself. We'll just keep in this diplomacy phase. Now we've got 5 more turns before the armies then have to sort of go and settle back down again into the. We're in the campaign phase at the moment. So it's the first year, turn 15 of 20. I'm not sure what the M is. I think it's year turn. I don't know what the M is. Anyway, we'll just keep on going down this way. Oh, God, we're rolling with all these horrible numbers. Did they pick it up? No effect. Okay. Diplomacy. Come on. So, yep, so we've now got this one here. We're nearly at Syracuse. Just trying for Agrium again, and it did pick it up this time. Okay, so we'll accept that. And that one's still amenable as well, as is this one. No, that's hostile now. These are switching around. It's going to be hard to take that one without besieging it. So I think what I'll do is I'll start to, we're now at the end of the campaign phase, so look, I might as well, they're all hostile. So native faction, yeah, I don't think we can actually, diplomacy-wise, I don't think we can actually do anything there. Yeah, natives, it's Syracusean, it's going to be -2. It's going to be way too hard, so I'm just going to cancel it. In fact, it's impossible. So we're going to march down and either push them back from here. There's no actual financial benefit of having the locations. All it means is you're closer to being able to attack the enemy. And so we'll need to figure out exactly what we're going to be doing in here. So let's go to this army. Let's go and march with this army through here. This is the this is Quintilis Maxilius Vitalis. So traits are he's a drill master, a propagandist, and he's got other units. So let's just go on. I don't know what that means, but if we roll well here, you can see down in the bottom left down this way, it's got 1 is no move, 2 to 8 is move and end, and 9 to 10 is move and continue. So we'll just go and click on here. So the army is rolling to move to Katana. The destination is amenable. The army size is small. The general drill master trait +1. Is that what he had? Yep, drill master. And road quality is improved. So he ends up with a +4 to his move. So there's a very good chance we're going to be able to keep on moving. So we'll just roll. And yes, we do. So we move and then continue. So I can either keep on moving, and I'm going to be moving down to here because I want to take this. I want to take Syracuse. Again, not that there's any real benefit from that. I could move up this way, but it's the end of the turn. I think I'll just move to here and roll again. Now it's we've rolled a total march roll modifiers is 4, and so the final roll was 8, which means move and end. So that's all we can do. We just end our turn there, but that's okay. We're in supply. They have one last roll of the dice back up and through here. So there was no effect there. A new year has passed, so we're now into year 2 on the next planning phase. So season ends, accept. So now it's year 2, turn 1. And so the action I'm going to take, I think I'll take Syracuse out, or I don't. I think I will. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to march with this army down to here. We'll roll, and we end our turn there. So that's the end of our turn. But we are now at Syracuse. Once we get past this phase, I'll be able to sort of start to attack fairly soon. And so what we'll now do is we'll now besiege Syracuse. So let's go to siege, select the location, and you can see down there it's a regional capital, which is -2. It's walled, and another -1, and we've got a small attacking army, -1. Now we need to actually have between 8 and 10 to shift to loyalty. Now let's just say this is going to be -4, so no matter what I do, we're not going to be able to get the siege this turn. So we're just going to roll. And so we only rolled a 2, so the siege continues. We just accept that. They then have their turn. They're still going with diplomacy. They're still trying to get this location. That was no good for them. We'll try the siege here again. And now we end up with the prior attempts ×2. So we end up with essentially the regional capital bit. So we still end up with a -2. We still shouldn't be able to take it. Yep, so siege continues. And now we're going to be able to start to besiege over time. Roll for that one there is still no effect. So diplomacy isn't impacted by staying in the same area. Now the siege, we've probably now got a better than even chance of winning the siege now. So we're now getting +4, which means that we've got actually not even chance. We've got, if we roll between an 8 and a 10, we now actually win it, and we rolled a 4. Just stay where we are. Okay, that's still no good for them. We go to siege now. We'll click on this one again, and this time we've got an advantage. So we'll start to roll. If we roll 6 or above, we win it, and we do. City has now been taken. So the map point Syracuse shifts ownership from neutral to Roman control due to successful siege. We gain +1 momentum, maximum 4 for a successful siege there. So that's actually good. We accept that, and they're still trying to go with Siliphidium back into this other side. I'm going to keep on going. These are all hostile. Actually, that one's amenable, but I'm sort of a bit worried about Agrium. They haven't moved their armies at all yet. Once we get moving, once we start to move into threaten their locations, I would like to actually control all of these two areas and everything else in between. So I think I'll take the coastal areas. It mainly comes down to where we're going to be fighting, you know. So I think I'm going to move back up I can get, if I go from there, 1, 2, 3, I'm down there. This is a good spot for us to be. I think we'll actually march. Anyway, that's, we'll just go and do the march here. And we'll march up to this one. We roll a small number, so we end our turn there. They really can't do it. This is they shouldn't be. Oh, they did get it. Sorry, they can technically get it with a roll of 10, which they finally got. We'll just keep on marching, and we're going to start to take their other cities back away from them. So we'll just move up to there. Roll. Get a shitty roll. Gee, we're not rolling very well. And we should start to see their armies come down towards us now and start to fight once we actually do different things in through here. So we'll now move across. We'll just march and besiege each of these cities as we go. So we'll roll. And in turn, we'll accept that one again. We rolled a 1 out of 10. Yet again. They're trying to take that one. We'll besiege it. So we'll now siege Agrium. If I move off, I then go out of supply, which then affects my attacking, if we do actually end up attacking. So we'll go Agrium and roll. And so this is only a -1. We rolled a shitty roll, but that's okay. We should be able to take it fairly soon. And we'll just keep on besieging this until we get it. God, rolling these ones, I can't believe how many times we've rolled that. So Taffy's saying, you're in my feet again. Amazing, there you go. Diplomacy. So they've actually shifts ownership. So they've gotten good stuff. Now this is the season has now ended, a new year has now passed. So we didn't do much in that season, and we've now been pushed back to Katana, which is our closest in-supply location. So we're now into year 3. Select a city for diplomacy. That's amenable. And yep, so from neutral to Roman, we got that one. And now we select an action here as well. So we have different things that happen at the start of a campaigning season. I'm just going to go and march. I'm just going to move up to there again. And we now have to start all over again with that siege. Again, it's just the crappy rolls have not been good for us. That was a roll of 3 yet again. So really getting bad numbers. I'm just going to grab myself a drink of water. Be right back. This early phase, I guess, is a bit boring because we're not actually fighting or anything. But it's just to sort of set things up. So we'll just now do the siege again. Crappy roll again. I think I've rolled about five 1s and 2 3s or something like that. They're on the march. Okay. Siege. God, another 3. I can't believe it. It owes us some big rolls. You know, they may be going down here to besiege this. Nope, they're continuing on. That's all they could do. So they've ended their turn there. We're getting close now to a fight. Siege, come on, give me a good number. Nope, we got a 4 that time, which is just not quite enough. Now they're using a fleet move to move their troops. All the way to Syracuse. So the Carthaginian is rolling to move by fleet to Lilybaeum to Syracuse, and success, they arrive. Now they can actually end up in storms, which can actually severely damage them. Now I still want to keep this going, and I will have to destroy this army. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to there. 1, 2, 3 with that one. Oh, I think I'll march this army down to fight it. Come on, we need to be able to get a roll on here to then be able to break the siege. So let's go to march, and we'll throw this one across into here. We need a roll to have move and continue. Yep, we got enough there. So I need to roll 6 or more. So we'd roll this one again. And so we roll, move and continue. We've got them. So this is now going to be the start of an actual fight. So Master Smitery is saying, true, there is a lot of menu, but not enough battles. Yeah, at the start, in the end, it becomes like battle after battle after battle. So it's really just a setup, which I don't mind, but for a video, it's probably a little bit boring. Anyway, we're now going to be doing the battle. Now, when you look at the map, you see that they've actually just landed here. Now, you can see that their traits, which are random, is like prosperous and cautious. It shouldn't really worry them too much. We'll have fairly equal numbers, except we're going to have a big advantage when we go into battle because we've got allies through here. This is a Greek faction, and we have another. This one here is Greek. So and also even Syracuse is going to come out and help us. So fighting at Syracuse while the siege, before they can besiege it and successfully take it, it means that we get all these different allies come and join us to actually try to actually sort of end this one here. So we're going to go in and now start the combat. So they don't have any benefit anywhere. They've only just come off the boat. Now we don't see any little, there's no indicator there that they've come off the boat. And I normally would show something to show that they're actually, that they're suffering, but I think that they actually did okay. So they've performed okay with getting off the ships and actually then starting the actual siege. So we're just going to roll again, which we don't need to do. End our turn, we accept. And now we go into battle. So this is actually now going to be pretty much what the game is all about. They actually ran away. So they're trying to run away from where we are. I want to chase them. So that was going to be too overwhelming, the actual allies that we had. So they actually retreated from there, which is fine. Let's go and chase them down and try to catch them this time. So they couldn't run. So we'll now march. Now we only have, I think these two allies here will help us. Let's just go and see if we can do it. There still may be too much for them. We'll roll. I'll just accept that. And now we have march was successful. Now they've got, this is actually now the prep for the battle. So the AI is elected to fight this time. So they haven't run. We're fighting in a neutral location. So in Acre. So in this case, we do actually have two of our cities are close by. I think that they'll kick in. So armies that are adjacent to battle are not in a siege. So the Carthaginians are already in Acre. Romans are already in Acre. There we go. The Romans have got allies from Syracuse and from Syracuse. So we end up with some Syracusean allies coming to help us. But the Carthaginians have got nothing. Now, call allies roll was 8, so it's a regional capital, so we get +2 from that. This is why we want to keep these capitals. Final roll was 10, and so we end up with a +2, which means that we get many men in support of the Romans. So the Syracusians have actually given us a lot of extra troops in the actual combat. Now, I'm sort of hoping that they'll end up being like medium foot, because we don't have any medium foot. Let's start the battle and see what we end up getting. I love this guy at the back with the eyes. I find that really funny. Taffy is saying, it looks a bit dry for me. Is there other layers to the game? This is the actual game now. That campaign mode is really just the start of being able to set up the actual battles themselves. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about what goes on in here because this is very, very nuanced with the way it sort of does work. And there's so much more that goes on in here than it appears. And I'm hoping that they end up changing things a bit to make it so that you can actually see exactly what's going on. This is real-time combat. That's what it will be. We've got our different troops that have come back in. You see there that we've got a whole lot of archers, which we don't actually have. So these are the Greek, the Syracusian allies. They've come in with those. More archers in through there. The Velites is our light infantry. These are our guys. So we've got the two that are ours. The archers again from the Syracusians and Syracusians back out through there. Back in through this other side, what you'll see with the actual with the symbols is this here is actually the Italian hoplites. So we do actually have a grouping through here. Now have a look down at the second last from the tooltip there. It says average. So these are actually fairly low quality. So we have to be careful of these. These can very easily lose combat. So the hoplites are our these are essentially sort of like pseudo-Greek fighters, but they are, I think that they will still be, they may be actually Greeks that have come in. Actually, they would be. These are Syracusean allies as well, but they're not good quality. Back over through here, what do we have? This is the Triarii. Now, you'll see down there again, the second last column says that these are elite. These are our best fighting force. These are those blue shield units that we saw there before. So we've got some sort of questionable allies back in through here. We then actually have Principes, which are the heavy infantry shock troops. These are veterans, so they're going to be fairly good. And every time we win a battle or play in a battle, the veterancy will go up if we succeed. And so they do get veterancy as they progress through the game. I think that's sort of how it works a little bit there. Back in through here, we've then got just average forces. These are Hastatii. These are essentially again just sort of like shock troops, but not very good. And then finally back over here we've got the Principes again, which are our veteran forces. So we've got a whole lot of allies have come in to join us, including these guys. The actual field of combat is also really important to sort of know what's going on. Now, I don't know if these are randomly generated or not. I'm sort of hoping that they are. There's rough terrain here. Now, the rough terrain is useless against any heavy troops. Now, all of my troops really, when we have a look at this, including the Syracusians, are going to be heavy infantry. So heavy infantry all the way through. Each of these is heavy infantry. There's no mediums. And so I've got nothing that can really operate, and that's heavy infantry again. Nothing that I have can operate in this terrain effectively. So this is where you sort of want to have like war bands or medium foot or something like that, just to operate in enclosed areas like these this rough terrain and the trees. Hills will give you an advantage as well. We're going to be fighting up hills slightly, which is a bit of a problem. And we have more hills over through here. So really, for us to fight effectively, we have to avoid this and move into this location, sort of back more over this other side. In terms of the actual structure of the way I want it to go, I've found that when I'm playing the game, I want to use the Triarii as a shock troop after the combat starts and plug in gaps where there's a problem. The game has a roll-on effect where when you actually end up with, if you take a disadvantage somewhere, you really need to cover it because the game falls apart very quickly. If a unit runs, that can then infect the other units around it to make them run as well. There's a lot more nuance in this game than it actually first appears. So it sort of looks very simplistic when you first look at it, but there's a lot that goes on. So what I want to do is I want to be having my veteran troops, which have got like the two bars in through here. I've got 3 of those. I want them to take the initial fight. The other ones that are here, like these average troops, are not going to be all that strong. So I want them to be support troops. So I'm just going to go and grab my 3. I'm just going to press Control and just go and grab all 3 of those, and we'll start to set up an actual a line of where things can go. Now, if I just use the if I just go and press the right arrow and start to drag it out, I can then sort of start to have like a force. I can't sort of change how wide the forces are. They are what they are. So I'm going to place those 3 there. So this is my deployment phase. They're going to be the main ones sort of fighting. I'm happy enough with the hoplites. These are going to be okay against cavalry, and we know that we're going to be going up against cavalry. What I might do is I might actually seed. I might put these other guys. If I press Control and then Alt and then click, I can then sort of just place them, and they'll still face the same way. So I can keep the facing by doing Control and Alt. This is my command radius. So my general here, with the equites can actually then, if it's within the command radius, he can give direct orders. He doesn't need to send runners out. But if they're outside of the direct orders, they're going to, the runners will then have to go out, so you sort of lose time. So I do want this one to be sort of in close in behind here. I'm going to control, I'm just going to click that one through there. I'm not worrying too much about putting them over the top of these other units. They're all going to be moved to the front anyway. These other units, so I've got the Triarii there to be able to plug a gap on this side or to exploit something that happens in the middle there. Let's go and keep one of the Hastartes also back out on this flank. And I'm thinking I'll keep another Hastarte back over on this flank over here. So Control-Alt, I'll just move them across into there somewhere. Actually, maybe even sort of move them up a little bit. I'm using the Control and Alt just to sort of keep the facing. So they're sort of going to operate a little bit where these actually are. That then leaves the hoplites in that sort of position back out through this other side. And so I think even with this one, and what I might do is actually change the hoplites so that they actually face that angle, and maybe even these Astarte as well. In fact, I can actually go and grab both of those and just go and build them up just to sort of create like a bit of a wall that way. And I'll do the same thing with these Hastarte. Again, just the sort of the questionable troops, just because we know that we're going to have cavalry coming. So I'm going to wait for them to attack me, I think. Now these skirmishers, these have got bows. They don't do any actual fighting themselves. If I go back in and right click on these, I then get a full description about what the unit actually does do. And really importantly, what we want to be looking at is the these command, what are they called? The action. So the combat action points. Combat, not action points. Combat advantage points. And so these are actually really important. And this is actually the secret to the game, is actually making the best use of these. I'll try to explain as we sort of go back through. This one's got no melee capability at all, so it won't do any fighting. All it will do is actually just firing. Our Hastarte, our Velites, if we go and right click on those, they do actually have, they've got javelins. Yeah, they've got no melee capability either as well. So these are just going to be trying to, you can see the impact capability, foot javelin is plus 100. Shooting capability, javelin versus mounted is 100. 150 versus elephants and plus 50 versus foot. So that's what we're going to end up having. Just going to double check on the combat points here for these guys. 50 versus less armor. Is plus 50, less target armor. Yeah, so we're not really going to do much. These are not going to be all that great. So, but these, I do need to sort of just keep these out in front of the actual fighting force. So I'm just going to go and grab all of these units down the bottom through here, and just going to select all of those, and just going to sort of place them in the middle here. So Control Alt, and then just right click. They should have moved, they didn't. Okay, so I'll just do it this way. All right, so they're going to be sort of skirmishing out in front. That's pretty good with what we actually end up having here. I'm sort of happy enough with where my commander is. I'm happy with these medium troops, like as in the medium quality troops. Best quality on this side where we have the open flank. The cavalry ultimately will be able to chase things down. But now when we play the battle, we have to really start to sort of think things through. So I'm just going to go and press start, and we're just going to pause for a second and then just go back through. So in the game, we actually then have, if I start to hover over different units, we can sort of see what they've got. So these are armed cavalry. These, you can see down through there, these are average quality, so they're good quality. They're okay quality. They do have javelins. They've got mounted hand weapons as well, so they can fight with hand weaponry. So they're going to have an advantage with their cavalry, no matter what happens. So they're going to be a little bit more, have a bit more ability to chase us. But you can see there, their army is not as big as ours because we've got the allies. So we've got allies that have helped us fight, and they don't have any allies. So they're coming in with slingers. And so we don't get to see the actual stats for the slingers, but they're not going to be all that great. They're going to be sort of similar to our skirmishers. They do actually then have, and the thing I'm looking at through here is really their protection level. And so these are protected. They're not armoured. What are these guys? These are armoured. So these are heavily armoured cavalry. Back in through here, their commander is also, and their commander has got like a command radius of 3, and also an ability of 3. So their commander is much better quality than our commander. Ours is just 2 and 2 with those stars. So their commander is going to have a bigger area to control. I'm not going to be able to see it in through here with that one selected, but that's actually going to have a bigger area of control, and so it will be able to help his troops much better than I can. But we have the advantage in numbers. Back in through here, we've got a Gallic warband. So we saw them before. These are sort of like big, undisciplined, heavy warbands, like heavy infantry warbands. They can be overwhelming, so we just have to be a bit more careful of them. They are undisciplined. They're protected, which means they've got sort of like mild sort of armour. Back in through here, we then have the Libyan spearmen. These are aggressive spears. This is actually also a designation that's important. They're all aggressive spears. Aggressive spears can charge into battle, whereas I'm betting that our group has got defensive spears. Defensive spears don't like to charge in. They sort of have to... actually, ours are aggressive spears as well, these Italian hoplites. Okay, that's interesting. The rest of these guys aren't spears at all. These are just these are heavy infantry. These are heavy infantry as well, but with spears. And so these also have like a bit of a difference into how things actually then go and work. Back through here, they've got another group, and through here, these are Phoenician foot. These are still only average. They're only protected. What are these guys? Are these armoured? No, they're only protected as well. They're only average. So they're, actually, there's veterans there. So this is going to be their best unit. These Libyan veteran spearmen, and the Libyan spearmen there are just average. So we've got we've got that unit there which we have to concern ourselves with, and we just happen to have the Triarii on that flank. So we should be able to outflank them ultimately, but we're going to wait for them to get in close before they do anything. These guys here are impetuous, which means they're going to go in for charging. If we go and click on the impetuous charge range, we can then see from our guys, this is where they're likely to run forward and sort of engage in attacks. So all of these different units will actually have this impetuous sort of range, but these guys will also have that as well. The range projectiles, this is actually the range, like anything that comes into this range area, that's the range. You can see there that the archers have got a much bigger range than the velites, so we're just going to keep them there. I'm just going to play it at half speed because that's fast enough in this game. And we'll just go through. Now, a few other little things, what we'll do is I'll try to explain the way the cap works. There's also a manual here, which goes through how to, like, what's going on in the actual game itself. But the important thing here is that everything that happens in the game is done through these sorts of tables, where you end up with, and you'll see these actually sort of go into, like, the unit type, whether they're steady, whether they're unsteady or wavering, as to how things actually sort of then go and work. And so we can see down through there, for example, these are the combat advantage points. And so we end up with all these different numbers that start to sort of add together to figure out what the advantage is when the dice are rolled. So it's a die rolling game, but in real time. And it's the real-time aspect that makes it look like it's sort of random, or fairly random with what's going on. But there's a lot of calculation depending on what does go on. So, for example, if this is in charging, when a unit charges that with that impetuous mode, there's a phase where they come together in the charge phase, where there's a chance for them to knock a unit into the unsteady phase, or even into wavering, if they're strong enough with their points of advantage. So, for example, if we've got steady pikes charging in, they get a plus 200 combat action points. If we've got shock troops, 200 versus infantry, these are good again in the charge phase. When we have a look at shock troops, for example, in the melee phase, this will just come down to, so that's mounted spears, hand weapons. So we end up with less, ultimately. So if the charge phase of our shock troops ends up sort of can make the other group unsteady, then we get an advantage. But if they don't get that advantage right when they actually meet, then they are at a disadvantage from that point forward. Like, imagine that we go up against their spears. In the melee phase that then follows, they have a plus 100 against steady troops. whereas our hand weapon guys will have a plus 50 versus them. So we actually end up losing 50 combat advantage points. And at that stage, we then have to start to rely on veterancy and things like this to help us. This is why I wanted all those veterans out in front. Plus 100 versus unsteady. So if we can make the charge knock them back a level down from steady to unsteady, then we end up on equal footings. And so we end up essentially sort of getting like different aspects in through there as well. So we end up getting more and more advantages over time. We have also other things like adjacency plus 10 CAP per side. So if we do actually have forces connected on each side, that's going to help them. So they do take support from that. Unit equality, so raw troops are negative 50, negative 25 below average, 25 is above average, 50 is veteran, and 100 is elite. So we've got the troops we want to have fighting are going to be in this veterancy range of around 50, which means that if they're fighting against the raw troops, the average troops, the average is going to be 0. So even at this phase, our veterans will actually do well against the standard spearmen. This is why actually seeing all these things in the battlefield allows you to plan effectively. So we'll be going through and trying to explain this a little bit more in depth. Significant casualties here, blah, blah, blah. Height advantage, you end up with another... we're going to have a slight disadvantage. They're going to have a plus 25, I think, with their advantages. General unit leadership rating. So 25 for 1-star, 50 for 2-star, and 100 for 3-star. They've got the 3-star general, so we're already sort of going to be 50 behind where the generals are concerned. Armor, they also get different things depending on what armor they've got. Flank melee capability. So this is going to be wanting to try to get flanking because we do have the numbers to do it. So flanking will actually allow us to knock their status down from steady to unsteady to wavering, and then from there to retreating. That's really what we want to have. There's also one here for shooting as well, with bows, slings, and javelins, as to what will then sort of go on against the different units. The javelins are better against mounted. I should have moved them to the outside flank and left the bows in the middle. That would have been a better way for me to handle the cavalry, because the cavalry we should expect will come in on the flanks. Let's close that off, and we'll unpause the game. So we'll just get it going. I'm just going to wait for them to come. So they'll start to march in. And I'm just going to, they should do. Here they come. So they've got auto first move. This one doesn't rely on anything really happening. So we'll just wait for them. We'll just go to normal speed here for starters. Now, if I don't have anything selected, we'll start to sort of see aspects of them as the combat starts. Now, the first one is going to be when they actually hit this range. So these are, now they actually had, I couldn't read what they actually just came up there on the screen. But this is now, just again, I'll try to show the stuff that's happening. These guys are moving through rough terrain. That's telling us that these are now susceptible to being, if we could catch them in there, we'd actually be able to do a lot of damage, but we don't have any medium troops to actually take them on. So medium troops in this rough terrain would be super effective against these guys, but we don't actually have any medium troops. They're going to hit these archers fairly soon. They're now out of the terrain. That's what their little symbol was there before. They're just waiting back away from our line. There goes an order coming out to their troop. So this one was too far away from, and there's more orders now going out to these guys as well. That's giving them an order, and it looks like they're now changing their direction. They may try to flank us. Once they get close enough so that their impetuous range kicks in, they'll then charge. Here comes our archers now, automatically firing. We won't do anything just yet. Now, if I just pause it there for a second and we start to hover over, there's been no actual change. What we can see is that these guys are receiving fire at this point in time, hardly taking any damage at this stage. These guys are firing, and these guys are now starting to evade because they can sense that these guys are going to be moving forward. I think that little 2 means that we've killed 2 of their units. I'll just go back into half speed now. So we're now just going to stop and fire again, and this should goad them on. So we're now at the limits. Off go the archers again. And another one was killed. Three were killed then. So they've now been goaded into attacking. So this is all the little things in here actually are telling you exactly what's going on. So they've now taken enough damage from these guys that they've had enough of these. These guys will try to dissolve in between what's going on. Now we've got the Hastati, which is just average in through there and average in through there. This is going to be a little bit problematic. We do need to keep these three in line for these four that are coming. So we just sort of need to keep them under control. We've also got another fifth one back through here. This is, when I actually have units as well like this, if I go and click on my light charges and then go and click on this one through here, it's going to give me those combat advantage points. So you can see down through there for light archers targeting Punic armoured cavalry. And you can see there in brackets there, it's got light archers brackets 13 and then the Punic armoured cavalry 15. It's then giving us, that's the ID number of the unit, which actually does come into bearing if you're wanting to really try to analyse what's happened to your troops, which I'll go through in a bit of detail as well. But in this case, the base cap we've got a base cap there of 50 combat advantage points. So we've got bow plus 50, minus 50 versus armour level. And so we've got a final, so armoured is light troops, half shooting effect. And so our final shooting combat advantage points is 25. So as the dice are rolled, we're only getting plus 25 with those advantage points. Now these guys, if I then deselect everything and then hover over this one, they haven't been triggered at all yet in terms of having to sort of roll to see if they've actually losing cohesion levels. We'll start to see those take place as the game sort of develops. These should start to come into their own fairly soon. Let's just keep it going through here. So they've been goaded. They're going to start to charge, and then our guys will run. They're moving into attack. Our guys are moving back away because they're now going to try to evade. And I want them to run past this one if we can somehow manage it. They're evading as well. They're going to start to fire yet again. Now these guys here, that means that they're going to be receiving orders, I think. You can see there's a few dead units on the ground there already. There goes a runner to give them orders, tell them something to do. So the general is actually sending further orders out here. The main group in through here, we're just moving, getting ready to attack. Back in this sort of phase. So they've moved forward to go and engage with the slingers. And again, if I have these selected and just hover over these ones in through this other side, so this is an eligible shooting target at this stage. It's too far. So Velites are targeting Balearic slingers. We end up with a final shooting combat advancing points of only 25. So nothing sort of too great. It's really when our main troops get involved that's going to be what's ultimately going to be important. We'll just sort of keep everything going until we sort of see something we have to act on. They're preparing to advance on their own, but here comes the unit to give them orders. We're now moving back in behind our other troops. Let's have a look now at the impetuous charge range. So we don't know what theirs is. Theirs will be bigger than ours, but we're almost at the phase where our guys will start to want to engage. Here they go. We're now charging. They've just hit this impetuous range, the red there, and so we're now charging out to try to catch these guys. I'm going to let that happen because, and we'll just see what actually happens with it. If they do engage, if they stay in the fight, I'm going to move these to the flank, and we'll try to hit them with the flank. So, in fact, I might even do that now. So, if I look at the combat range in through this other side, these are outside the combat range. We're going to have to give them special orders to do anything. Now they're going to be receiving a charge from these Hastati, which are only average. And then if we have a look at if I hover over this one now to see what's going to happen here. So we've got the charge cap in through here. The Hastati Javelin Endor versus Mounted is plus 100. Final Cap is 100 versus the Armoured Cavalry. And so they've got Javelin versus Mounted is also plus 100. Significant Height Advantage plus 50. Final CAP is 150. And so you can see in that case, when we go into this, we only have a win factor of 19%. So they've actually got the height advantage here. I don't know if we can see that, but they're sort of on the edge of that hill. And so they've got a bit of an advantage in there. So that's giving them a slight benefit with the actual fight. So again, if we have a look at this one through here, during the charge phase, there's a good chance we're going to be hit with like an unsteady sort of aspect. And so they're going to ultimately, and then after that, even when we start to go into the melee phase, our guys are only going to have a 21% chance of actually winning each phase of the combat and 38% chance of losing it. Now, we can do different things here, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to, when I do go in and actually start this one, I'm going to tell it to go into fallback mode. So this is when they do actually do it. I'm going to try to get them to draw back so that this one can get a flanking shot on this particular group. So let's go and tell them to go to fallback mode, and we're just going to go and change these guys. Wrong one. I'm just going to go and get these guys to actually go and position themselves further back out over here to get a flanking shot against the cavalry. So I'm just going to give them an order. I'm just going to draw essentially where they're going to go. At the moment, they're sort of going to be running out to this location. So we'll just go and do this, and we'll just try to sort of hit that one from the flank. That's really not really good enough. I'll just go a little bit further out. Now, they're going to also want to charge, though, so hopefully we can get a flanking shot on these guys, which will then make them drop into an unsteady state straight away as well. If they roll us up here and break through, then we're in trouble, because then they can get flanking shots on these once these will sort of start to hit. We're hitting these guys now as well, and if I just have nothing selected, I can then sort of see when there's going to start to be aspects of the game that where they'll be testing what's going on. Nothing has been tested yet. Just grab a quick drink. So Florby is saying, does this game have a grand campaign? Yes, it does actually. We're playing that at the moment. This is our first battle in this grand campaign. And so we've been just building up we've been claiming territory in the grand campaign at the start. And so it does take a bit of time in this campaign. Hopefully they'll sort of relook at, they're going to be building other campaigns like this, and because it's really enjoyable what they've actually got with the game. But this, I did notice last time I played it, I didn't explain the combat advantage points very well at all, and the impact that they have. So we know that these guys are really, odds-wise, we're going to lose this combat. So we have to bring in support to actually help these guys win this battle. And it has to be these guys here, these Italian hoplites. So we'll see how they actually go. If we have a hover over these, we can see that these already have like an advantage because these are actually steady aggressive spears, and they actually have a plus 100 combat advantage point anyway. And against cavalry, they end up with another plus 100. So we end up with essentially a big advantage in the charge combat advantage points, but also once we actually get going in the melee ones as well. So getting these involved early-ish will be important for these guys. Otherwise, they could actually be smashed here. It could be that these actually rush into battle as well, which would be fine. In fact, I could even just do that just because we have the advantage. So, but we'll see how we go. Now we should see another a horseman come out here. They're getting ready for the charge. Now see how they're moving away? So I'm going to tell these guys to stop, and so we'll just get them to stay back where they are. And so they've actually gone. They've decided not to engage. Oh no, they're getting ready for the charge. Here they come. Both are going to be charging together. They exchange the... now we're missing all the stuff that's going on over here. There's a lot of things going on over this way as well. But in this case, they've now thrown the javelins as they start to sort of move in. Now, if I don't select anything, This here, I think, is indicating when they're going to be when there's going to be a test of what goes on in this phase. But both groups have now set up for the actual charge. And so now this is a cohesion check. This is what we're looking for. The game is really won and lost on these cohesion checks. So they had to do a cohesion check to see if the shooting of the javelins was going to be okay. And so in this case, the shooting check passed, because shooting check while in combat +3 result was that they rolled dice and they didn't lose any cohesion. Our units are still marching across. We should end up with the impetuousness being close enough to engage once this one actually finishes. Let's leave that alone for a second and have a look over through here. What we can see is that these Velites have actually decided they're going to charge down the slingers, because these are stronger in melee than these guys are. And if we have a look and select those and hover over, there's only a final shooting cap of +25. But it looks like they're actually charging with melee weapons. These guys are also, they haven't done it yet. We'll have a quick look and see what their impetuous. No, we don't see him. Oh, it's very, very small. They must have got close enough to impact that. We can't afford to have these guys run forward away from this. So we'll just keep everything going the way it is, and we'll just wait for these main troops to sort of get involved in the actual fight. Last time I played it, I was keeping it, I wasn't pausing it as much as what I am, but I really want to try to explain what's happening with these combat advantage points and how we're trying to make best use of them. You can see there we've got a slope here as well, so these guys will hit these from the slope, which should make it even more devastating when they do get an attack in there. The rest of it is fairly, like it runs downhill this way actually, but that's not going to help us all that much. So it's going to be fairly neutral. Let's watch this one then, because there's still nothing much really going on behind us. Oh, sorry, one thing I should point out before it gets crazy, we have a combat log, and we'll just move that off to the side. This one should show us things that happen, but it may be only showing us stuff where they fail stuff, so I'll just leave that one where that is. We'll have a look at this as things actually kick in. They're now marching in. Now, this is interesting. What's actually happened there is we already saw that the chance of us hitting these guys was only 25% chance essentially in the actual, sorry, it was only 20 or 18%. We actually happened to get a really lucky roll. To be honest, this game does owe us some lucky rolls. So we ended up getting a very lucky roll, and we've actually already shaken them. So they're now become shaken. They've lost a cohesion level. And if we unclick everything and hover over them, we'll start to see more information about the last cohesion check and the last failed cohesion check. So in this case, it's the same thing. What happened was there was close combat. There was a charge, and they ended up with a -1 result, and so they actually lost cohesion. The cohesion from here, the Hastati should have actually also had a cohesion check as well, but they must have passed theirs. If we have a look at this one here now with the combat log, we can sort of see down through here. And we've got the last cohesion check for the Punic Armoured Cavalry. The check reason they lost to close combat in this particular phase of the combat, and they ended up then rolling to see what was going to happen with the actual cohesion of the group. And in this case, they failed, and so they've now dropped a level, which means that they're now much more susceptible to being smashed. So we now have a big advantage where we really had a bigger disadvantage initially. So this actually sort of is now working. So won against the odds. There it is. They actually won against the odds with that particular roll. So that's actually very, very cool with what actually does go on there. So that's good. These guys are still moving into position, and then they should charge in when they can. They're going to have now a massive advantage once they actually go into melee with these ones here. But I want to get them on the edge, because we want to be chasing these away from the actual battlefield. This will then give me flanking capabilities out through here if we can actually get them to run. So that's a major factor of this particular battle. All right, back to the actual combat. This is the combat mechanics are very similar to Field of Glory, which is so much more involved than Total War and any other sort of games. So it's very, very different. So these are the orders coming back. We've got still got our skirmishers. Now, they will just do their own thing to a degree. I can give them specific orders, but I'm not going to worry. They're trying to now evade away, and they're now accepting there's arrows now being fired from this group. These still haven't got even close to the combat yet. So we've still got a lot going on. Let's just keep on focusing on this particular phase. So they're shaken. We sort of see the aspect through there. We're seeing units of theirs being killed with our archers. Now this is interesting. Our guys are charging their guys as well. They won't get close to the actual to the spearmen though, because they're going to be ripped apart if they do. So they'll know not to go crazy with this, but they'll just chase them back. So we're sort of we're winning the, I guess, the battle of the terrain, and we are doing well here with just our average troops. This is actually massive. I can't express how lucky we were to get that particular result. These hoplites really, if I can march them to the side and then attack, I'll just let them go a little bit further, and then I'm going to give them a charge order. You can see the impetuous area is actually just starting to kick in. So they're marching into position. This, I think, is when there's going to be another check. We've just gone shaken there. So we were just hit by the slingers again. And if we hover over these ones into here, and so in this case, last cohesion check for the Velites, which is also the reason that they became shaken, is that they're shooting. And so the fact is we actually failed that one. And so we've been shaken here. We'll now be pushed out of the centre. And so these guys on the flank will then have to take up that role. These will now be a little bit surrounded as well. But having said that, the actual slingers themselves here have they did pass their last phase. These guys haven't had to do anything yet, but this one, the first time they were really tested, they failed. And again, these if we have a look at these guys, these are just average, and average is not good enough really for doing much. So these guys are still marching out, and I'm trying to fall back here so that to give these guys an advantage. Here we go. We're now turning, and we now are in a position to go and attack these guys. So let's go and right click, and so they're now going to be wanting to charge on in, and so so that group there, I'll just they're going to be wanting to charge in. Okay, so that should be enough for them to destroy that group. Let's just watch charging, and they're going to hit the flank from down the hill of this particular group. And we'll see there that the initial charge is going to be a 50-50 affair, but then after we get cracking on this one, so there still could be a factor. There we go. We've now just pulled back a little bit. We did that on purpose. So we actually are now pulling back away from the fight, drawing them in, and we're now going to hit them really hard in the flank, and that should just drop straight away. We're still seeing evasions happening through here with these guys. They'll move away from the main troops, so that's nothing much really happening through there. They're still accepting like archery and stuff coming back their way. Let's just watch this attack go in. So we're going to hit these pretty much in the flank and in the rear with these. They've held at this stage, and we should see them hit. Come on, guys. Charging in. These guys are firing at them as well. These guys are still sort of running around. Now the actual phase in through here, we're not going to see much. Okay, this last cohesion check, the Pony armored cavalry, the reason check was they lost close combat, but they actually passed the result. And so in this case, it's actually they did fine in that particular phase, but they will now be sort of surrounded. So we're going to sort of see that there's going to be more and more fighting with them shaken. They're not going to be able to fight anywhere near as effectively, and particularly against these groups. These will start to rip them apart, these spearmen. Getting very close now to the actual main battle, taking part. You can see that there's arrows in the air. Let's continue on. But this is really the important one at this stage. So they've actually turned around a little bit. We've now gone from the charge phase into melee phase, and we'll now start to. We've got a 100% chance of winning this. That is, hang on, is it? Should be. Let's get that one selected. That's the last resolved combat. Yeah, so infantry, flanking cavalry, so not max. Your cavalry can actually take a flank charge without actually automatically losing cohesion. Let's just keep this going. But you can see they're going to start to drop. We'll let these things just watch. Now they're going to go in and charge yet again. Or they're still actually in the process of charging. Or they're trying to sort of fall back. So there'll be, ultimately this one should fail. This is now shaken as well. They should start to move back. These guys will move back. And then once they become impetuous, we're going to need to charge in ourselves. Now, this is becoming quite... they've now gone down again. If we have a look and see what's happened there. So these have their last cohesion check failed. Close combat, lost close combat. Is unsteady or hindered. The unit has already suffered significant casualties, and so they failed another cohesion check. One more and they'll then run, and that's the end of them from the battle. So essentially we're very, very close now to getting the combat. These are coming in. We're going to have to be a little bit careful and line up potentially these Gallic Warband with these units here. And we want to do, what we need to be doing here is making sure that we get the shock value. So we have to be really mindful of this line here. When they get close to it, we're going to have to do the charging. And so we're going to have to go in and actually start the process. Let's just watch this, because what we don't want is for them to start the charge. They are charging slightly downhill, I think. If we go and have a look at this, what do we end up getting? Actually, the charge there... yeah, final cap. They actually get a lot of. They've got significant height advantage there, plus 50. So they actually end up with a better cap charge there. We can't see from the opposite side what happens if they do anything. We have an advantage there, and we have an advantage there. The Triarii against these guys also has an advantage. So once we get going, we should be all right. But this is, again, a bit of a problem here with these guys. So we need this one to run when this one actually starts. Let's just keep all that going for now, and we'll just watch when these get close enough to charge. There's the other groups backing through there as well. Gonna move back. Now they've just run. So we've just routed 12% of their forces. This now puts us in a good position to start to surround these other units. So the Hestatii through here can actually now start to just get ready to flank out this other side. So I'm going to start to position these back out this way. So we'll give them an order. Now it means that the order is going to have to come back from here. And these as well. We've now positioned them also in a position to move on up. So we'll just go and do that. With them selected, if I press Control and then Alt, I can sort of see where both forces are going to ultimately be ending up. So that's actually okay where that is, but we'll just go and move them up to try to get the advantage on this other side. Now, unfortunately, they're gearing up to attack in this angle, which means that this one here is going to be sort of missed. I need to sort of change the angle here. So it's we've got a bit of a disadvantage with all of that. Most of these guys are close enough within the combat range to take immediate orders. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to charge on out across here to hit these. So I will actually do a charge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do fallback mode for all of these. God, we're so close to this impetuous charge range. But I prefer my guys to be doing the charging. Yeah, let's go and hit this from an angle. So let's go and hit these across here. So they're going to go and try to charge. I'm going to put these also to go to fallback mode to hit these. And I'm going to hit these guys. And I'm going to be trying to push them back in this phase here. So they'll move up to start to charge. Then we've got the other medium troops in through this other side, and we'll position them on the side of the battlefield up through here somewhere and just get them ready to charge from the side. Okay, so that's committed all of these. We haven't committed this one yet. We want to wait a little bit closer for these because we're going to lose this fight ultimately. Oh, actually, maybe when we're actually going, it's not as bad, but let's just let it go for a little bit longer and just sort of see how things actually develop. Anyway, this was a big win for us back over here. I'll start to hit those with the archers as well. Are they within range? I think they are. All right, let's have a look and see what actually happens here. Moving to attack. So we're doing the charge. Actually, no, we're accepting a charge. Unfortunately, we're being charged by them. In that case, we'll flick across to this one. We are going to have to change what's happening there. They're being attacked. These guys are now going to be sort of attacked from this other side. Hopefully we can use the 2-to-1 aspect yet again to actually do what we have to do. There go the runners to go and give the orders out to these. Now, yeah, so these guys here will just keep on going. So we are going to end up with the Triarii. I might just move these up forward a little bit just to be with the other group. And I think we may need to actually move the Triarii back over to this other side to plug any gaps. Yeah, we're going to have to cover that unit there. So we'll actually switch the sides here, and then hopefully they can then sort of roll up the Gallic Warband ultimately. Now these are now they're interfering with each other, which puts them in a susceptible position. They're charging now as well, and we're going to be charged in here, which is going to be a disaster for us. Nothing much we can do. Yeah, so these are now impacted. Let's have a look and see what actually happens in through here. So these Principes have actually passed their charge, unfortunately, because these guys now get an advantage. I think they do. What actually happens with this? Oh no, we have an advantage over them. But I will actually just try to keep the lines leveled up. So I will actually keep them coming back. I will actually push them forward now with the attack that's going to be going in. Now they're getting ready to charge. But these may get there in time. Here we go. These are sort of in each other's way. So that's actually severely going to hinder. Actually, they're also hindered a little bit with this other group. So we have a charge going in here. If we just go and have a look and see what actually happens with those spearmen, and then these as well are going to be charging. We're accepting a charge from them, but the charge phase we should still do okay with this. They're now moving back around the outside edge. These are going to move across the Triarii. These Velites are shaken. So there's a lot going to be going on now in the actual combat. So there's been already a phase here, by the looks they've held. So they've done a cohesion check where they had they lost close combat, but the versus shock troops, they actually still managed to survive it. So that's actually not good for us. We were hoping to get a few of these knocked backwards by the time they sort of get anything happening. So let's just keep it going here and just watch what actually happens with these phases in here. Again, we've actually won that one there, but nothing's really happened. Come on, move yourselves out. Get away from this. We don't want to be attacked here. Now we've already gone to shaken there because we're sort of in each other's way. And please hold on here. Now line shift block in through that side. So we're just trying to sort of we're trying to move backwards a little bit, but we're actually blocked with moving back. So let's push forward in this case. They've got more of their average troops coming through the middle here. And they've still got their cavalry back there. Now, who's shaken? That's just the Velites that are shaken there. These shock troops are going to be getting onto the flank of these, which will be good. So we should be able to roll that one up. Unfortunately, this shaken area through here is a bit of a problem. I'm going to move them. Oh, no, I can't even give them orders at this stage. So there's too much going on in here. Now we just suffered a bit of damage. We're pushing this one back, which is good. This will then allow these. Now this is actually rolling back as well. I think we'll just go back to push back and just keep them coming. Now we've got a charge going in here, which should be. Actually, are they going to charge? Who are they going to charge? Yeah, they're charging the flank here, I think. But then their cavalry is coming back in this other side, so they're going to hit us in the flank. Let's just keep these shooting down this other side here. So it's a bit of a mess with everything that's going on. I'm going to have to hit this one pretty hard with the Triarii. Let's go and hit that one on the side. They're charging in. Yeah, they're charging. They're still holding. They're still holding. They're still holding. They're shaken, but we do now have 2 to 1 with a third one on its way. They've rallied, and they're going to hit us in the flank. We're going to drop immediately. They're shaken. Okay, this is good at this stage, but we're going to also now be hit in the flank. So we'll see here that we'll end up with a. This one here has passed the shooting from all of these units which are firing at it. So they're losing a lot of troops, but they're going to charge in the flank. And when this hits, it's going to drop these immediately pretty much. Auto drop. There we go. They immediately went to shaken because of the flanking attack on that particular unit. So they're now shaken as well. But this is good. Let's keep on pushing. We're pushing this one back now. These are still, they haven't suffered at all anymore. Let's have a look and see what's happened through here. These have passed their cohesion checks. If we wanted to see like just how much is going on and why things are happening with certain units, like this one here, these are Astartes, the last cohesion check. Yeah, we accepted the charge essentially and failed that one. But if I wanted to get like the whole combat history of an actual unit, this one here you can see is number 4. I'm going to put the unit number up in the top here and just go enter and sort of see what actually happened through there. So the first one against the cavalry, one against the odds. And then we actually had hand weapons versus unsteady or hindered opponents. We actually won that particular one against the cavalry. And then finally we've got the against the cavalry, there was another tie. So this was all of the different times we had cohesion checks. We won another one through there. And then the last cohesion check for us was the unsteady, like essentially the shock troops versus infantry. We had the 150 versus the Gallic Warband. The Gallic Warband won, and we then sort of dropped a level. So we did win against the odds here again, though, where they've got a 51% chance of getting an actual win and dropping our cohesion even more, but we only have 16%, but we managed to hold on at 32% with the actual what's going on through there. Hi, Began, how you going? You almost missed this sneaky second stream. Yeah, I was going to stream earlier, but then I ended up playing the game a bit more, actually, just to try to really get a handle on this combat advantage points, because it's so important with the actual game itself. We can also see the Gallic Warband is number 3, for example. I can go back into the combat log and put a number 3 in there and just see what they've had to do. So in this case, their combat history is that the outcome there was they won that battle. Last cohesion check for them was another pass. It's not telling us. Yeah, here's the Italian hoplites flank charge. So the Italian hoplites won that one. Like we won that one massively, but then they still passed the cohesion check. So they didn't actually drop immediately. It wasn't technically a flanking attack at that stage. And so then the Hastati as well. So outcome Hastati actually won this one against the odds, which is where it should have dropped a little bit more. So they're mainly focusing on the Hastati. Let's just go back into here again. This is shaken. These guys are shaken because of the drop. This is going to be a bit of a problem over here. We will lose this, I'm pretty sure, if we actually hover over that one through there. Yeah, there's no chance at all of actually winning against these. So with this one will end up dropping, unfortunately. We're going to hope that this one drops beforehand, just so that we don't end up sort of having things happen too much. Yeah, that's a big problem, that one. They actually moved out to flank us at exactly the right time. We still got advantages though. Let's just keep it going for a little bit longer. Come on. Yeah, we're seeing more things. That's now gone. Okay, what's happened here, and this is actually where things will now start to go in our favour, is that these Principes, which are the veteran units, have actually now hit these guys in here, which is the Libyan spearmen, and their last one, they failed that last check and have now lost so many men that they're actually now running. So they're actually now retreating, and we'll see that they've routed with what they're doing. This is then going to have a roll-on effect through the rest of their group. This one here, for example, had another one where the last cohesion check was an ally routed near them, and so this one here, they've got they had to check, but they did pass that, so they didn't actually rout themselves, or they didn't drop. These guys also have held against all odds, I think. These guys lost mellow while in pushback mode. Yeah, that's still okay. We've got a general nearby giving us the advantage there. So the general is actually supporting what's going on. These guys here, I can't believe that these are actually able to hold on the way that they have. We'll see what actually happens through this other side. But with these now, they're going to sort of move on up. I feel that these are going to drop very, very quickly, and we're not going to there's not much we can do about that. So we're going to have to sort of try to win the battle a bit quicker than what we sort of see through there. We've still got available couriers of 5, so we can still send orders out if we have to. But in this case, really, everyone's just fighting where they have to fight. Now, ally routed, they're checking against their cohesion checks. Again, ally routed, they passed that one. So we're sort of seeing all of those different things come up. So this will now come charging in. Now we have another group there, Phoenician Foot, which is just medium, against these guys. So let's now just go and get them sorted and go after them. So start to charge, moving into to attack. And I'll keep them in hold mode, where we don't really want to be exposing our flank to this too much. Now they're wavering, so this one here is now dropped again even more. So this is number 3 again. If we have a quick look at number 3, in fact this is still on number 3, we can then sort of see that there was a tie, hoplites, a tie, last cohesion check. They failed. Sorry, that was the, this is different again. Let's go and press number 3 again. Enter. So this is the last one. So hand-to-hand versus unsteady or hindered opponent, plus 100. So that was us, essentially, but the outcome was a tie there. It's funny, it should have still... Hoplites won there. We've got a big chance there. I'll just quickly have another look and see. If I just hover over it, we should end up getting Gallic Warband, last cohesion check. Lost close combat is steady heavy infantry +1 is warband -1. So being a warband, they're a bit more undisciplined. Large combat action point delta, so another -1. They did fail that one, and so they've actually now dropped from nothing down to wavering. So they're about to run. So that's actually a big advantage for us. This now means that I no longer need these guys back over this side. Let's flip them back. I should have kept them back where they were. Let's just move them back into this position. So the Triarii are just plugging gaps, but they don't need to. This will then drop. These will then rout. And now we're moving up in amongst these guys. We're pushing this one back as well. So a push back, and hold there. These guys have held on unbelievably. They've recoiled away from this group. So these other guys can start they'll start shooting at the cavalry. Come on, attack, attack, attack. We're going into shock mode here. They're still moving. They're now shaken. Just wait and sort of see until we see things actually happen here. So this phase has now come back in. There was a tie there with the actual shock phase, I think. That's now wavering. That's going to drop very, very quickly. They've now fallen, and they actually had to check their... because these routed next to them, they've now actually had to do a... they failed the morale check there, the cohesion check, with this one routing next to them. So they've actually now going to run as well. This one hasn't had to do it yet, but this one will now rout fairly fast. This has now moved all the way back, which is fine. If they turn to face this, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. So we just have to keep even though these are shaken, they can still actually do an attack if they attack the flank of the Principes. So their two slingers are still on the outskirts there. These units here, the shaken unit, I'm just going to keep back where it is, but I can use these allies that we've got from Syracuse to just start to march back up the field. I'm just going to give them an order to end up over there somewhere. So we'll send a runner out. We've got 3 runners left. And we're pushing back. I think we'll now just hold there. They're coming into flank. Let's go and attack. So we're moving to attack. So we'll try to attack the cavalry. We're going to drop on contact here, unfortunately, because they're going to hit us in the flank. Yeah, so we've gone to shaken straight away. So that's a auto drop because of the cavalry attacking. Well, we thought that was going to happen. There we go. But we actually won anyway because we've got so many of them now to leave the to actually run. So we've broken most of them, which was good. So we actually were just steady and shaken. We didn't have anything that actually wavered or actually ran. So that was actually a good outcome for us. So if we now have a look at the, go back to the campaign, they've actually lost a lot of troops there. So the Carthaginians withdraw to Camarina, and the Roman ones stay in the place of Acre. So we'll accept that result. And so what we'll now see is we're at Acre, where we've got the support of these towns. They're down in here with a much, much more reduced group. Back in through this other phase. Now we're over halfway through the current turns of this particular year. The campaign, well, we're in planning phase now. Diplomacy, what has happened there? Shift Sophintus, where's that? Trying to see where they've actually taken that one. There. Now, if I attack them now again, I'll just accept that. So they're moving. We can still keep on charging in now with what we actually have. So now we've got. Judge Dredd is saying, is there different races, and if so, are they all unique? Yeah, pretty much. There's, God, how many factions are there? There's a heap of them. There's a heap of factions in the actual game itself, different mix-ups. This particular campaign, though, is only the Carthaginian forces and also the Romans. So, but you can play individual battles for all sorts of different things. In fact, what I can do is I'll escape out and just show you the actual full aspect. But But that you can see there's a lot of nuance in the way that you've got to then fight the battles. It's not just a matter of quickly moving around. It's more than a click fest. There was a comment when I left my last stream saying, oh, it looks like a click fest, and it did look like a click fest. And I apologise for my previous stream because I really didn't explain just how important those combat advantage points were. But they are everything in this game, and getting the advantage with those and mitigating the potential losses. Like I was really worried about that cavalry troop attacking my sort of average troops. We were very, very lucky to hold on there. Very lucky to win that. Otherwise, that could have been a completely different battle. Like the whole battle could have shifted very, very quickly. But if I go into like the battle simulator, this will show you the sorts of things that you actually have. Like if I go to all eras, for example, so they've got troops, they've got different groups from different eras, and you can sort of then go and pick, what you actually want to have. So if we look at all the different eras, these are all the different factions in the game itself. So the Abyssinian, Aemenid, a whole heap of them. The stars, I think, mean that they're sort of got allies and stuff like that can fight with them. So, but it just gives you a bit of a rundown as to what they all do. You can even go and set up, if you're just wanting to have like a random battle, you've got there's so much you can actually do, like late Judean, for example. There's just heaps, like different Greek forces. Even Germanic, foot tribes, horse tribes, Cushians as well. So it extends the factions extend all across Europe and across towards India, Sarmatian. So you've got the steppe people as well, Spanish groups in through there as well, Spartans. So there's a heap of them in this other side, and so but. In the campaign we're playing, we are literally just playing with the Polybian Romans and the Carthaginians as well. So we end up with these Carthaginians. There's no elephants, for example. So we're just playing with these sorts of factions with what we actually with what we're playing with. Early Carthaginian, do we have elephants there? I'm not sort of seeing them there actually. I thought they would sort of come up in those. I know that they do have them. What else would they be called? Numidian? Yeah, no, that's just their cavalry. There's the elephants, African elephants from the Numidians. So that's Hannibal sort of had his elephants from that faction, I believe. So you've got sort of like different things that can come through as well. They've got no allies because they've got no little star. Actually, they do have a star. They should have been allies. Anyway, there's a heap of them in through there. But you can actually go through and actually set up what you want if you're going to be playing like random games and so on and so forth, which is really quite cool, the way it sort of does work. The campaigns, we're playing this one here, which is the only map campaign so far in the game, but everyone is loving these map campaigns. So the feedback that they're getting is that they need to make more of these and less of the ones, for example, where you just go from battle to battle. And so this one here is an ongoing campaign. We'll just go back to our campaigns. This is where we are. So even though they've got the majority of the territory, we can still now chase. We didn't lose any of our units. They've lost a fair few, so we have a big advantage. But we don't have supply, and they don't. Like if we chase them down to here, we're not going to. We don't have any advantages this time because there's no one. Actually, yes, we do. We've got from Helorus. We do end up with some factions here helping us out. If they can get to Gela, then they'll have the advantage from the allies that they have through here. In fact, not just from that army, but from the location. Anyway, let's go and march and let's see if we can actually do even more damage. They're going to, at the end of this will be interesting as well. One thing I really like about this is that they've now lost certain units, so their actual army is now diminished by the units that were essentially routed in that last one. But you'll see what happens when we get to the end of the turns. So now I can push for advantage in what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go and drag this one down into there. So it's rolling to move. We'll just roll this dice and we'll accept that. And so march successful. They've chosen to fight. So actually, no, they didn't. They ran off to Gela back and through this other side. So free diplomacy roll. Locals impressed by enemy retreat. We can now roll to see if we can actually somehow take the loyalty. and no effect, unfortunately. God, we're rolling some bad numbers on this part of the map. So we haven't been able to flip this particular city. Let's keep on chasing because we still can actually move this army yet again. So we'll actually now move it down into here. But this time they will get allies. And so this is rolling to move. We'll just roll. We can move and continue. I'll just go accept. They've chosen to fight in this case. And so they get a few men in support of the Carthaginians. We don't have any because we're now away from where we actually are. So we don't actually have any troops nearby that can actually help us. So we're on our own. So we'll just start the battle. And we'll just get it going. I can't get over there's this guy at the back there, which is quite hilarious. Now, this trees are going to be like a bit of a nightmare. We're sort of out in the open here on this particular map. So it's nice and even. We've slightly got a disadvantage with the downhill. There's not much of one, but it will be enough to just give them a couple of advantage points. Our cavalry, our actual leader is back over there. So this is the leader has actually found himself way at the back. So we're going to sort of have, like, we've gotten rid of some of their troops. They have got some extras, which will most likely be skirmisher troops. We've only got these Veliti. So we're going to have to go on the attack this time, I think. Our main triarii are at the back. We've got veterans down through there. The centre is held by the Hastati. Now I'm going to move them back out to the side again, but we're going to just go on the attack this time, I think. So we'll just go and press Control and then Alt, and I'm just going to right-click on the side here. I'm going to be moving mainly from this angle, so I'll set them over here. And if I press Control and Alt, they sort of keep their, the order. Actually, that's a veteran. I'll just move this one. Just move that one over there for now. I can press, when I've got Control and Alt pressed, I can also roll the mouse wheel to sort of get things happening. Let's go and move these. Oops, no, just those three there. I'm just going to go and position them across there and just a little bit of separation. I want them cohesively together, so that will be good. And I'm going to set them to hold, I think. Just go into hold mode for each of these. So I'm just giving them a pre-order of not advancing. Some of these we can't do much with. Some of them we have like different aspects. Like the cavalry, for example, has got the recoil mode. If they can sort of attack, they can then try to push themselves back out of it. And we want to have the commander really has to be back in here again. So we'll just place the commander there with the order sort of nice and close. The two Veliti. So we are going in with no allies this time. Just go and have them positioned out in front. And then the Hastati back in this other side as well. So as long as we move fairly fast at the start, we can then sort of set up a situation where we can give initial orders and then they'll just sort of do what they're going to do. Now that may not be strong enough. I think what I'll do is I'm going to position the triarii back over here. So we'll actually push this flank. So we'll push that one right forward. And we'll then just go back in. I think I'll actually go and actually flank from quite a distance out with these low-level troops, with the Hastati. Have these gone up at all? These are elite, veteran, yeah, average and average. So the triarii really are the elite forces that we actually have, and they're fully armoured. These are all armoured except for the Hastati, which are only protected. All right, that'll do us. Let's go and start. Just going to pause. You can see there's a lot more troops here than what we expect. Too much for us, I think, actually, guys. I think this is way too much for us. There's a lot more troops that came to help them. It could even be the other general because they were really close. There's no way I can actually fight that. So that's actually way too difficult for us. So what I do here is I can actually just run away at this stage. So I'm just going to go and press escape, and we'll just return to the campaign. So they win the Battle of Gala. This is actually what happens if you also are playing a campaign mission and you have to then get interrupted and leave. It's really they've got to have a save for inside those areas, but we have been pushed back. So they are now marching down. Now there's no actual attack there. So this is the late army through here is actually now attacking us. So and you can see there's no benefit for them. We have a benefit here. So I'm going to take this on. This is actually good for us, but I think that these guys helped to support the combat that happened there. That was way too big for us. So Carthaginian is rolling to move to, yeah, they've done it, so we'll accept that. Now, march successful, we've chosen to fight. Armies at or adjacent to battle are not in a siege. So we do actually, the only one that can get allies is from us, so we'll roll for allies and battle. We can retreat if we wanted to, but we don't want to. So we send a few men in support of the Roman Polybian forces. We'll start the battle this time. So we should end up with a few more. These will be just Greek allies from that other location. So we won't get the Syracusean allies anymore. So we've got a few more forces now. So the Greek allies have given us Greek light cavalry back in through here with javelins, etc. We've got a nice hill here. It would probably be good for us to actually charge in from above, from this angle. I might just move that up, move everything across actually. Yeah, I'll move these right up. And we'll get the whole army positioned. Just Control Alt, and then I'll just sort of click it over a little bit. Did that work? No, it didn't. No, I'm just going to put it all in one line. Okay, we don't want to do that. So in this case, again, I'm just going to go and set these guys in behind. All of those guys can be in the middle. Triarii just off to the side here. DasTactic back off to the side. I quite like that arrangement that we had last time. I'll just Control Alt and just click it in the middle there. There we go. So it's just me sort of in with those. And these guys just in front of these troops. And Control Alt. Yeah, that's okay. Alright, so that gives me a force out here. I'll just move them out this way. So we shouldn't see too much with the group that's here. This should be fairly smallish. Yeah, very small. Now, before we get excited about how small that is, which certainly looks tiny, there is this rough terrain here, and there's also a hill that we can't quite see over. And so I think we're actually missing, we're not seeing everything there just yet. So I'm going to give, now my initial orders are free. So I'm going to give orders to these Greeks to move into this tree line. So they're going to be moving back into there. So I'll get them moving there. I'm going to move these up as well, just to the side of the tree line here. And I will actually now move everyone else. Oops, hang on. Just go this way. And just start to move them on top of the hill here. So Control Alt and then click. And I can then sort of position where this force is going to then be sort of arranged, which will be sort of out through here, I think. So let's actually just get them to meet about halfway there. So by pressing Control and Alt, it certainly is a nice, easy way to sort of just get things operating. Let's unpause. So auto first move. Just going to tell them to stop, and then we'll just move them up slowly with the other groups. I don't want them rushing forward. So they're actually interrupting each other. We're seeing more troops now coming up. These move faster than the others. Now they're hindered because they're cavalry. We're still not seeing the general. We're seeing dust at the back. We're just not quite seeing it though. Here we go. There's the generals at the back. There's somebody else at the back there as well. What I'll do is I'll get these to order down. We've got 5 runners at this stage. Just move them forward and we'll let them run in. They're already shaken. There's the general. They're shaken as well. Now we've got the downhill run here, so we've sort of positioned ourselves well on this particular battlefield. So this here is they've actually failed their cohesion check. This is just the Libyan spearmen. I actually think we tell all of these to just go and start charging the various forces that we see here. And we'll just leave these on the flank. Now we've still got four runners. 3 runners and 2 runners. They've recoiled. They've actually come in to attack. We've already shaken both of these. So again, without even knowing what's going on, we know from the last battle, and we can see there that these are veterans versus veterans. So we've got 2 veteran forces, but we actually had a point of advantage here where we're attacking from the top. And so if we have a look and see, these are Libyan veterans number 9. We can just quickly go back to the combat log and put in number 9. So it doesn't have to be slow with what you're doing, but I do want to sort of show why things actually happened. So last cohesion check was they lost close combat. They did actually end up failing, but there was a general nearby which gave them a +3. Their steady heavy infantry gave them a +1. They received a charge, so -1. Polearm in full adjacency, +1. So they ended up having a pretty bad result there. But you can see down through there, this particular one, we ended up with final combat combat advantage points of 260 versus their 170. And so it gives us a good chance there. So the Principes actually won that one just because of the... it should have shown... We should have been attacking from uphill or downhill. We should have been attacking downhill, which should have had an advantage for us. Let's just keep it all going here. Just keep these coming in behind the others just to help. And then these as well. We'll just do all of these. I'll leave them. We've only got 3 more runners. Now, let's have a look and see. We should probably hold here. Let's push back on this one. Let's push back on this one as well. And push back on this one. So we'll actually try to push them into a small area. Just move them up a little bit. They're moving down to attack the cavalry. Actually, the cavalry. I don't want them charging off into combat. Let's leave these guys back here because the cavalry is now moving to do what it did last time. Let's move these in. They're moving in as well. And this one here we need to sort of try to... I'll just move it back into the actual combat there. Now we're out of couriers. There goes one courier. Tell them just to set themselves up. These are now coming in behind. That should drop. These are only light though, so they doesn't impact as much. but they are surrounding them. Got all 5 couriers back. Just keep these at bay. They've now become shaken. We are pushing this one back. Go and get that one ready. Courier moving off. Moving to attack. Yeah, we're going to receive a charge here. So we're being charged and we held, which is good. We are breaking through here massively. Let's actually stop pushing and just hold. We're trying to push back on this one, but they're now shaken. This one here, unfortunately, did actually lose something, so we'll just close this one off. We'll just go and... We do have a big advantage here, so let's go and attack these guys with our actual general. We can lose our generals, by the way. They're now shaken. They've just dropped. Our forces here are wavering. Come on, attack. Get out of the way. We're running there. That's one lot of units we're going to now lose. Just keep these coming in. So we're charging again on this unit. We should have the advantage here. Yeah, they're now shaken. General died, actually. Who died? Their general died. So that's now going to impact all of theirs. So they're now wavering. Oh, no, their general died. I thought our general just died as well. Anyway, we should have this one now won. There we go. So one of our Velites actually lost. So we'll actually return to the campaign. But I think I might leave this session here today. It's 2 hours in. So... it's a pretty cool game, I've got to say. Like, really, really cool. So we won that battle at Camarina. So we had a big advantage there simply because, well, we had allies, but they're now, so they're struggling, but it's still not game over, even with struggling troops. The game is very, very cool the way it sort of does work. I will leave it here. One thing we haven't done is doing the fleet move, but we saw that happen with Syracuse being attacked. So it's very, very well done. I think I'll keep on playing this one a little bit as well over the coming days. So we'll sort of see how they go. So Panda Bear is telling me, saying this is really cool. Thanks for showing it. It's a great, great game. Like it's a bit hard to understand when you first start to look at it, but the mechanics inside it are really, really solid. And I think the game has a bit of work to do with itself to show the combat and what's actually happening. I think that's quite important. So it'd be cool to sort of see that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.